All right, this is chapter 3. This is contingency planning now. Okay? And this one we got the project in. If I can get it to advance. There we go. All right. Planning for unexpected events. Okay. It's tough to think about, but it does happen. There's always going to be something happen. And if you don't plan for it, there's some weird saying about that. I can't remember what the saying is, but it says, when the use of technology is disrupted and the business operations come close to a standstill. It happens. We lose power. We lost our... Now, what if I was teaching today and we had no internet access? It would be... Well, then I'll be like, darn it, I had the slides in my hotel room. I should have brought them with me. But, luckily the internet came on. But it happens with everything. Did our school... I'm assuming they thought of... now that we went to an online registration system for our students, I'm assuming they thought of what happens if it goes down. We actually had a meeting recently about should we remove the telephone enrollment system. A touch tone system where you could actually enroll in classes via the phone. I was like, we actually still have something like that? Do you guys have anything like that you know of? We finally got rid of ours. I think they said 7 people used it in 2011. I was like, why would you even use that? How would you know how to use it? But, all right. But yeah, so what happens? Okay, so what procedures are there? It says over 40% of businesses that don't have a disaster plan go out of business. We had the whole 9/11 attack. A lot of companies got disrupted. I'm hoping they had some plan in place. Okay. So contingency plan says the overall planning for unexpected events. Okay. I used to live on the south side of Oklahoma City, and I bought, I don't know, it wasn't that big of a house. This is years ago. But when I was buying it, we went to the closing, and they said, we need to see your flood insurance. I'm like, why do I need flood insurance? They said, your house is in the floodplains. You got to have flood insurance. I'm like, no. I ain't buying no house if I'm going to have flood insurance, because I couldn't afford it back then. Flood insurance was expensive. So then the guy I was buying it from did something somehow and got removed from the floodplain. It took him about one day. He did something, and what it was, over the next to the house, right next door, there was a culvert, maybe 30 feet deep, that would get like this much water in it. But they said over the next 100 years that area could flood. They got these plans that over.
That's a 100-year floodplain.
Right. So, but he did something, got my house removed. And I'm like, sweet. Man, I don't know. And so many people in my neighborhood. What?
Does that mean it won't flood?
Yeah.
Because that's the real important part.
Actually, never did flood when I was there. But the funny thing was, man, all my neighbors started coming to my house. How did you get your house off the floodplain? I'm like, dude, I don't have a clue. All I told them was, I'm not buying unless they removed it. And somehow the guy got it removed. So it was. But again, contingencies, what's going to happen? Obviously floods can happen. Okay. All right. Yeah, we lost some windows at our building at Rose State. Therefore, luckily, it was not in our IT services building. Okay. We're actually looking to put a generator in our building now. We have UPSs. I'm assuming you have UPSs in your IT area. But what's after that? What happens after the UPSs die? Do you have generators, or do you know?
In some locations do.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't. And we have I think it's a 30-minute UPS. But, I know our PeopleSoft system alone was on 30 separate servers. Can you imagine? It's going to take more than 30 minutes to shut them all down. So we're looking to get generators, or get a generator. When I ran my ISP at my house, I had it where if I ever lost power, my UPS would notify me. They'd text me, email me, and then call me. And I worked about 10, 15 minutes away. My UPS lasted 30 minutes. So I'd usually wait about 5 or 10 minutes. Then if they didn't call me back, tell me the power's back on, I'd run home real quick, pull out the little generator, start it up, and plug everything in. But you can imagine how old that gets. So I had a natural gas generator installed. Oh my God, it's amazing. Cost about $3,000. Now I no longer do that business, but I still have the generator, which is awesome. So we had an ice storm about 2 years ago where we had no power for 6 days. I had power. My gas bill was $400 that month, but I had power. But I got to thinking about it. That was a lot of money for gas. but I didn't have to buy a hotel room. I didn't have to buy food. I didn't have to replace everything that was in my refrigerator and all that other stuff. So I think I saved $400.
Didn't break any water pipes.
Exactly. I didn't break any water pipes. But there's stuff out there that's going to happen. Like ours, they were putting a natural gas generator in at our school, and it was not budgeted for, because they assumed our UPSs were good enough. But we actually had an outage where they weren't good enough. So then they said, okay, now we need to, so they're basically says, you know what, it's not budgeted, we're going to buy it anyway. So it's good because we do need it. Okay? But it involves preparing, detecting, reacting, and recovering from. Okay? It says the main goal is restoring of normal operations. We want to get back to what we were doing. We had a power outage last Thursday for about 10 minutes. I think we had one class going on in our building at that time. They were just ready to cancel class when the power came back on. So, it was close, but it was all right.
One thing with the generator I found is some organizations have them, but then they never test them. And unless you use like a UL certification or whatever,
Right.
that requires you to test them every month to at least make sure they switch over.
Mine runs every Sunday for like 15 minutes.
Right.
But mine's like 15 years old now. Not quite. It's about 12 years old. And what sucked was, I think it was in the fall, it didn't come on. My batteries, I guess it's got a trickle charge, so it's always charging, but they basically gave up. So I had to get a new battery for mine. So
We turn ours on every quarter, and everybody knows in the building because the building shakes. Because it's a big diesel generator down in the basement.
nice.
On the third floor, you get a little bit of a vibration.
But during that ice storm, I figured, I ain't changed the oil in it but one time. Figured it might be a good idea to do it. So I went out and got a filter and all this stuff, and I turned it off and drained the oil, changed the filter, put the new filter on, cranked it up, and looked on the floor and said, oh, there's the new oil sitting there in the... I'm like, oh, shut it off real quick. But luckily it was only on for a couple seconds. But that would have been a very expensive problem. But yeah, it's a good thing to have, and if you don't have one, I recommend getting one if you can afford them, because they're nice. All right, we've actually had people call in because they can't get out of their house because their garage doors won't open. The fact that they say, oh, we have power outage, I can't come to work, I can't open my garage door. Lift the damn thing up. But they are heavy, but I don't know, oh well. All right, so incident response planning says focus on immediate response. Something just happened, what do we do? Okay, disaster recovery. Okay, it says focus on restoring operations. So if something happened, now we're going to fix it. And then we want to continue to operate an alternate site. I doubt we have a continuity plan for our school. I doubt any school has one. I mean,
I know MCC was working on a
right.
contingency plan because Doug Fox, he was involved in that. But I
Well,
don't know.
what I think, like we have Oklahoma City Community College on the other side of our city. We're on one side of Oklahoma City, they're on the other. That would be awesome. All we would have to do is get a continuity plan to work with them. Say, hey, if we lose all of our stuff, we're going to come and borrow or rent some space from you, and vice versa. So I don't know. We might have something like that, but I don't know.
I think one thing that companies, I know when we start doing a business continuity plan,
Right.
I ask, what's your most important application in your organization? And so we get a lot of different answers, but almost every organization, there's one that's the most important, and it's the same one.
Well, that's good.
It's the payroll system.
Yeah.
Because if you don't pay your people,
Yeah, they're not going to be
you have a
happy.
lot of problems.
I said they took our
They go,
old
email,
servers.
A lot of other things. And no, it's the payroll system. If you don't pay your people, you're in trouble.
Yeah. So I said that's the one thing on ours. They put some of our old servers down where they could enroll students, write checks, and one other three functions, whatever it was. But yeah, it is important. Okay, so all right. It says also to ensure the continuity across all of the processes, they should identify a mission or business critical, like you're saying. What do you really need to do? Could we live without enrolling students for a day? Sure. Tell them to come back tomorrow. But middle of winter, could we live without heat? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. So who knows? All right. Anticipate potential contingencies or disasters. What could happen? Well, I'm in Oklahoma. Obviously, tornadoes. Do I really need to worry about a hurricane? Probably not. So, All right. Select the planning strategies, implement the strategies, and then test or revise it. Okay. Okay, develop your statement here. It says provides the authority and guidance necessary. When I worked at Tinker, I was on the red carpet team. It was one of those deals, you had to do stuff. They put you on these committees that never met, never did anything. Well, one day, it was funny because they actually activated the red carpet team. And it was kind of cool because they came out and they handed us a piece of paper. What it was we had to go through the organization, grab pieces of equipment. What the red carpet means, someone of importance is coming in, they need computer resources, or something happened, we need to have an alternate network somewhere. So what we would do is we literally went through the organization. It says go into this room and grab that printer, or grab that monitor, or grab that computer. Then we took them all to the library, and everybody showed up with all these different components, and we connected together. We had a little network. Then some guy came in, made sure he could print, made sure he could see everything, and they're like, okay. So they actually tested it once. I was impressed. All right. Then it says conduct a business impact analysis. It says identify and prioritize the critical systems. And do we need everything? No. Okay. Do I really need printers? Probably not, or at least not that many. That kind of stuff. Okay. Preventive controls. How can we prevent against that kind of stuff? Well, tornadoes, that'd be kind of tough. But we could also do stuff to reduce the effects on it. Okay. Buy a generator, that kind of stuff. Okay. All right, recovery strategies. How do we get back in business? Come up with some plan for that as well. In the IT plan, whatever we come up with, we need to test it. We need to train people on using it. And then obviously have exercises using it. We actually had an exercise at our school recently where they were, suppose we had a sniper on the roof of a building and a bomb in a car. They had the one where everybody from the city showed up and they all participated. Well, it was kind of cool. So, all right. Yeah, it's a good idea you actually train and go through all this stuff. Okay? And change it. Change it regularly. And that's an issue because a lot of times people leave and it never gets updated. All right. What should be involved in it? First of all, the introductory statement of why are we doing this? What's the philosophy? Well, because we want to continue to function. Okay? The scope. Okay? Risk assessment. Okay? Specifications of the components, a call for guidance, okay, that's the review, okay, or review and test it, okay. Identify the key components, the key regulations and standards we're going to be following, and that's where the NIST documents come in handy there, okay, plus additional administrative information there. And we should have our team, our incident response, disaster recovery, and business continuity plan. OSU actually had a class where they had to come up with a continuity plan for something, one of their classes, because one of my students was working on it. So probably we don't do that at our school. It might be a good idea to one of these days do that. Okay. Should involve, again, who's in charge, the project managers, and a bunch of team members. Okay. Here's what NIST says. These procedures, contingency plans, business continuity, and continuing operation plans should be coordinated with the backup contingency recovery plans for any general support systems, including networking or networks used by the application. Contingency plans should ensure that interfacing systems are identified and contingency disaster planning coordinated. So, right, very nice stuff. Okay, and there's our contingency plan interacts with all the other plans. All right, business impact analysis plan. What is the impact on the business? Okay, it's the second phase. It's the one right there. The second one down. Okay, details, scenarios of how each. So we get a virus on campus. How will it interfere with our business? Okay. Okay, it's not management. It's basically just telling us how it will interact with us. Okay. There it is. We're not going to go through all the little steps of it. Okay. All right, what this should include, though, is the threat attack identification, all the different threats that you know of and some that you can think of. Just, leave space for additional stuff there. The unit analysis, attack scenarios, and the damage that could happen. So if we get a virus, what could happen? Okay. All right. Yeah, let's see. The organization that uses the risk management class will have identified, prioritized threats. What we're talking about there is we're expecting certain things to happen. You should be ready for those. Which ones are more important? Which ones are going to happen more frequently as well? Okay. All right, here's an example. So we have malicious code via email. Okay, we have vandalism, script kiddies, just all kinds of different stuff that could happen. Okay. Okay, we come up with a bunch of scenarios. One example or a way some people do is you hear some called the tabletop exercise. Some of you might have heard those. We actually walk through some of these scenarios. When I was at the University of Tulsa, I think mine was the cell tower got knocked out or something like that, and we had to come up with a plan to continue to function without it. Okay? All right. Should include our methodology, our indicators, and the consequences. What happens, what the cell tower goes out or we lose power, what is the actual broad impact of that? Different areas on campus would be different things. Obviously, wherever the food is, they lose power. It's going to be different than if we lost power here. So, okay. Also, best case, worst case scenarios are there. Okay. Could come different ways. Okay. Estimate the cost of them. What are each of these different attacks going to cost in money and also in personnel and time? Okay. And what does it take to recover from them? Okay. Again, all these plans must be developed, but in my school they don't develop half this stuff. But it says a related plan must be developed to identify existing plans already in place. What is already there? If someone's already got something done, you don't have to recreate the wheel. Okay. Okay, the incident response plan. Procedures to anticipate, detect, mitigate an impact of the unexpected events that might compromise. Okay. So, what is going to happen and what can we do against it? Okay. When it becomes a valid attack that's classified, at that point, the attack has been realized, so then we have to fix it basically. Okay. So directly against certain assets, what is the chance of success? Does it affect our CIA triangle at all? So, all right. Okay. The developers should perform, whatever the plan says. It says to develop and document the procedures that must be performed during the instance. Here's one thing I was trying to tell our area about. So what do you do in case of something? Well, we have our plans. We know them. So are they written anywhere? And they says no. Here's the issue. They should be written down. Okay. All right. It says plan developed and documents procedures must be performed. Again, what must be done immediately afterwards? And how do we test it as well? Okay. The backup schedule, how to restore stuff. I'm assuming we've all done backups before. Do y'all back up your home stuff at all? Some of us do. I use a service called Carbonite. I don't know. I pay $54 a year for that. Backs up unlimited. I have like 217 gigs of stuff. So backups are very important. I had a client of mine who we did tape backups. We did a full backup. Then we did incremental backups as well. And the problem is we never tested the full backup. Turns out the full backup was never complete. So this company wanted to switch to a new piece of software anyway, but they kept putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. And when they finally lost part of it, they ended up switching. But the point was the incrementals were always fine. But the full backup was never tested. So, they hired me as I wasn't there to maintain everything. I was there just to fix them if it broke. So they would do all their own backups and everything. But yeah, the full backup was never tested. So when we tried to restore after an incident, whatever it was, on their accounting system, we couldn't do it. So, all right. All right, disaster recovery preparations, also training schedules, testing plans. Is all this stuff written down somewhere? Hopefully. The service agreements, OG&E, Cox, whoever do you ever get power from? Do you have those in place? What about facilities as well? Okay. All right. Here's some examples here. All right. All right, so it requires a detailed understanding of the information system and the threats they face. It needs to be a portion of this, actually majority of this needs to be written by people familiar with the system. Okay. All right. Here at the bottom it says enables rapid reaction without confusion or wasted time and effort. All right, let's see. Each member must know what they're doing. Kind of like I told you, that team I was on, I had a specific thing I had to go get, so it was well documented. Okay. Incident classification, whether the event is an actual incident or not. Okay. Let's see. Possible indicators. It says presence of unfamiliar files, like our flame virus there. Okay. Execution of unknown programs. These are just examples of stuff that you might know something's happening. Internet's down. Rose State put wireless campus-wide. You guys have wireless campus-wide here? I'm assuming you do. We have wireless campus-wide. And our whole entire network at Rose State is 100 meg. That's it. That's all we have. We're looking to upgrade that. But right now it's only 100 meg. Well, what they did, as soon as they put wireless campus-wide, what do you think happened? Then we have 8,000 people watching Netflix. So what do you think happened to our network? Died. So what they've done, they were reactive afterwards, and now our wireless has been capped at 10 meg. So our wireless is now unusable. Because 10 meg, come on, with however many thousands of students are on campus at any one time, a couple people watch Netflix, you're done. So Fridays it's good, weekends it's good, Monday through Thursday don't bother. I mean, you can handwrite stuff faster, but yeah, consumption of resources, that's a big issue. Actually, we're working with our OneNet system right now to get that upgraded. I bet you guys got a bigger pipe than we do. Do you know what your speed is out there at all? No.
They've actually upgraded, so I'm not really sure what.
So I know the Moore Norman Technology Center just got upgraded to 500 meg. We got 100 meg, so it sucks. The problem is our firewall can only support 100 meg. So if we upgrade our bandwidth, we need to upgrade our firewall, so which wasn't planned. So great. All right. Unusual system crashes, that can happen as well. So, all right. Probable indicators, activities at unexpected times. Do you run anything to even look for this kind of stuff? Okay. I had a client of mine contact me and said, Ken, the internet is ungodly slow. I need you to figure out what the problem is. So I went out there with Wireshark and I captured data at different periods throughout the day. And I figured out what it was. They had an external email system. And they had a very slow connection at the time too. What they would do is somebody would get a joke. Then they would forward the joke out to 26 employees or everybody in the company. Then it has to come back into 26 employees. And then they would stream music. They would stream all this stuff. And the problem was the culprits were the owner's sons. You had 4 sons that worked there. I said, oh, it's Blake and Cole. and the owner's like, oh, we'll work on that. It was pretty funny. But
Yeah, those little emails with the cute puppy pictures and stuff. Yeah.
they're huge. And one person gets it, but that one person sends it out to 26 other people. Then those 26 send it out to...
Do you remember the dancing baby?
Oh, yes. Yes. So those aren't as bad anymore, considering most people use Facebook or Google Plus or Pinterest now. But, yeah. But activities at unexpected times. Now, we've actually had students who we found sitting outside of our campus using our internet. Are they legal? Sure, they're students. On a weekend, I had a student who didn't have internet at home. So he goes, oh, yeah, whenever you need internet, I just come up here and sit in the parking lot and use the internet. It's okay. Presence of new accounts, reported attacks. Maybe someone reported something. Way back when I ran my ISP, I used to work at an ISP first. So I figured out how to do it. But the guy I used to work for and another friend of his that ran another ISP, I asked them about how their firewalls were set up. Okay, the way their firewall was set up was let everything in and block the bad stuff. What do you think? Good plan? No, stupid plan. But that's what I implemented mine initially until I had time to reconfigure it. But I said, why did you do it that way? He goes, because I don't know. I'm an ISP. I provide service. I don't know what they need, so I need to let them do everything. So he contacted me one day and he goes, Ken, that was right when the SQL Slammer worm came out. He's like, oh my God, there's a new SQL Slammer worm. You gotta block this port. I'm like, oh, I'm not worried about it. He goes, what do you mean? I said, oh man, long period of time before that worm came out, I redid mine. What I did is I captured traffic for a couple weeks, analyzed the traffic, and I basically blocked everything but let in the good stuff. And the only thing I missed out of all that was one guy who uses the VPN to access his server, which he wasn't using it during those couple time period. But I just enabled that and it was fine. Yeah, but I didn't have any problems with the virus or anything because I, changed the way my firewall was done. So It was funny. Okay. So notifications from IDS, that's assuming you have one. It's an intrusion detection system. Okay. Definite indicators could be used of a dormant account. Accounts have been sitting there for 50 years, and now all of a sudden it's activated again. When I worked at the land shop at Tinker, I told you I was kind of put there by that colonel. He kind of pulled me out, said, "You work here now?" What was funny is they didn't want me there. Have you ever been in a position where they just stuck you somewhere and the people that you're working with didn't want you to be there? Well, it was funny. One day, they called me, and I was there, but they would never talk to me. It was kind of weird. But they wanted to see how smart I was. They're like, "Okay, good, solve this problem," because there was a guy who got discharged from the military, but every now and then he'd still log in and access his files. And they've tried everything to keep this guy out. They have not been able to keep this guy out for nothing. But they would never consult me at all. But then finally when they said, "Fine, he's on right now. He's in there accessing this file. You tell us where he's doing it from." So I look at it and I said, "He's not." What it was, how the computer description, what they did is they took his old computer, gave it to the commander, and the commander would open up this calendar every now and then. And the description was, Sergeant so-and-so's computer. And so when they would see was, it would say Sergeant so-and-so is accessing this file, even though it was really the commander. I said, "That's not that guy, that's somebody else." And I get the computer name and said, "This is the commander." And like, "Oh, we're idiots." But it was pretty funny. But
It illustrates a whole other problem that they had in that.
so many, and I think the second thing was, most of you know about networking. There's one building who had an issue that they couldn't solve. It was very intermittent access to the network. One computer would work, another one couldn't, all in the same office. And they couldn't fix it for nothing. So it's one of those deals, "Fine, you're so smart, you go fix it." I went over there and I looked at their subnet. I'm like, "Why do they all have different subnet masks?" And they're like, "Those aren't important. You put anything you want there." I'm like, "Oh, how's that work out for you?" So we put the correct subnet mask in there. Instantly it all started working perfectly. And it's like, they said that wasn't important. I'm like, obviously they were confused. So, all right. But yeah. So a lot of issues that can, problems there. All right.
It doesn't matter what you put there as long as it's right.
Yeah, as long as it's right. And as long as they're all the same, that usually helps too. All right. Changes to logs. That could be another indicator. Okay. Presence of hacking tools. That's one thing that gets me. I teach forensics. So what kind of tools do I have on my machine? These known hacking tools. This sucks. McAfee would keep deleting the darn things, and they would manage it via group policy. Even though I'd go in and put an exception, the group policy would override it. I'm like, "You're killing me here. You're killing me." So, yeah. So hacking tools aren't always the bad thing, but most of the time they are. Okay. Notification of a partner repair. Someone told you about it, or notification of a hacker. A lot of times they do that. "Hey, we broke into your system and did whatever." There's a hacker out there called Ghost Exodus. You ever want to watch a cool little story, look up the hacker Ghost Exodus. He got caught, by the way. He got caught by some guy at Purdue University. But they go into a big old spiel of a movie about him. And this guy was a security guard at a company. And it was funny. He basically broke into their cooling system. And the way they tracked him down and proved that which computer he did it on, because the computer he actually installed the virus on had a little pink duck on top of the monitor. And you could see in the video what he did is he would walk around with his laptop and he goes, "Yeah, this is Ghost Exodus." He played Mission Impossible music. "All right, now I'm infiltrating the company." And he recorded it all and put it on the internet. It's like, what an idiot. But they show him going to a computer and removing the McAfee, installing this virus. The way they tracked it to that specific computer is because of that duck. It was pretty funny. So like, yep. So, but his name is Ghost Exodus. There's an interesting read about it. So, all right. So, what can happen? Well, we can have loss of availability, obviously, loss of integrity, loss of confidentiality. Okay, violation of policy, violation of law. Okay. When I ran my ISP, one of my clients actually had some credit card numbers get stolen because of the shopping cart he was using at the time had a SQL injection flaw in it. If you know what SQL injection is, basically on the shopping cart you could search for a product. You could say search for a t-shirt. Okay? But it wasn't sanitizing the input. And what they did in there, under the search tool, they said, basically add a new account with administrator access. And it would take it. It took it, and they ended up instilling all kinds of credit card numbers and all kinds of other stuff. And we reported it. We reported it to the OSBI and everybody else and did it all correctly. And he had told me he would never, ever report that again. If it ever happens again, he would never, ever report it. Anyone know why? Such an issue. I mean, so many people, there's so much basically paperwork that comes out of it is what happened. We ended up sending the server to New York, and it's like, it was because there was no company here that the payment processor would allow to do the examination on. So it was tough, but you can be, it can be tough. All right. It says once it has been confirmed and identified, it moved to the detection phase. Okay, something's happening. Now we can see if it's really happening on our network. Okay. Other steps must happen as well. Key people must be assigned to all these. An alert roster. Again, I'm prior military. Is anyone prior military in here? There's one of you? That's it? Wow. Yeah. Navy? It was Navy or Air Force, whichever one called me first, and that was the Air Force. So. But we had an alert roster. We'd basically have a listing. This guy calls this guy, who calls this guy, and then, that's what you need. Something happened, then call everybody down the line. Okay. So alert roster's kind of a handy thing. Documentation. Again, our school doesn't believe in this, but having this stuff written down would be a good idea. It's probably your school as well. Yeah. I know it's all of them, but what I try to tell them is, if something happens, write down what happened. Write down what happened and how to fix it. Or what did you do to fix it? At least you're starting. At least you got something written down, but they don't. All right. It says documentation begin once an instance has been confirmed. Record who, what, where, when, how, why. And one thing they really don't mention here, but, I guess they kind of do. But what happened afterwards? I mean, the big issue with us IT people is we fix it, we move on. But you need to fix it, document what you did, so if it ever happens again. See, I'm one of those that I don't document stuff, but after the second, third time, I finally realized maybe I should at least write down where I'm getting this information from. Because, like RDP, remote desktop, some of you, I think he said he used it. I used to use it all the time when I ran my company. But they would block 3389. So I would always, route it over port 20, which was FTP. The school didn't block 20, so I would route it over 33. I would change the ports. But I always had to figure out how to do it, so I always had to look up on the internet. Sooner or later, I found out how to do it, and I actually wrote it down. To change this port, go into this registry key and change the setting so you can use it, change it to whatever port. Do you know what I'm talking about? Let me show you something real quick. Let me show you this. Okay, my school blocks pretty much everything. Web and FTP is the only thing open. Okay? So what I do is port 20 is what? Anybody know? It's FTP. So I tunnel port 20 to my energy system in my house. So I'm using 3 cents an hour right now in power. This is called a Total Energy Detective 5000. You install it in your circuit breaker panel. It's real easy. But I tunnel that over port 20. So I can see what's going on with my power at my house. And I think I do 8080 as well. Let me see. Yeah. What's cool thing is you have that up. Like I can run on my iPhone. You turn on the toaster. It's like it jumps way up. I was like, what the heck?
So you check that when you get your bill? I mean, are they ever off?
No, see, I have solar panels too, so I actually sell power back to the power company. I had a 68-cent bill last summer, 1 month. But, yeah, I don't...
How much does solar panels cost?
Too damn much money. Yeah, I paid about $13,000.
Does your state subsidize them any?
The state didn't... Wait a minute. I got a federal credit. I don't know if I got a state credit. I might have.
That $5,000 one they offered for a brief period.
Yeah, I might. That's probably the one I got. Okay. See, right now
Probably
I'm...
made it more worth it.
So I can also see when I'm... Like right now I'm generating 971 watts of power at my house. And on the other page I was only using the teeny bit, so I'm actually generating excess power right now. So I'm selling it back to the power company. So, well, I gotta... So, but point is here, I'm using ports that they leave open for an unintended purpose. And then I have a router that does port translation and makes it work on the other end. So kind of cool stuff. All right. But documentation is very important. Okay. We all suck at doing it. We know we need to do it. We just need to. We just don't. All right. All right. The essential task. Actually, let me go back to that for 1 second. I did find one way to get documentation done correctly. Hire someone that's the only job. If you hire someone that their job is documentation, documentation usually gets done. So, but who can afford to do that? All right. So the essential task is to stop the incident or contain its impact. Yeah, we want to quit what's happening and fix it. Okay. So we want to stop it and then recover from it. Okay. All right, containment strategies. It says disconnect the circuits, unplug them. I haven't, but our school has turned off our email every now. I remember when the I Love You virus came off a few years ago, actually quite a few years ago now. They took down our email system. It says email's going off in 10 minutes. And they did that because what was happening is people were forwarding it. It was propagating throughout our mail system. So it took our mail.
So they caused their own denial of service attack.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I hate that.
Yeah, pretty much. But, it says dynamically apply filtering rules to block certain types of traffic. Okay. Disable compromised user accounts or delete them. Okay. Reconfiguring firewalls, temporarily disable services so you can get back online again. Okay. So taking down the conduit application or server. What is causing it? If it's all coming from this server, take the server offline. Okay. Or we could stop all computers and network devices. Can happen as well. All right. Says an instance may increase in scope. It could be getting worse or it could be getting better. Can you always just cut power off and, like the prior slides said, take systems offline? Can you always do that? No, you can't. Can you imagine the Wall Street? What if their system got affected? Right? Could we really just shut down Wall Street for a couple hours? It ain't gonna happen. I know with forensics, now you can actually do live memory captures. I actually do a project in my forensics class where they have to capture what's running on a system because you can't always take the system offline and hand it to somebody. So, all right. So it can get worse, can get better. Okay. All right. As I said, let's see. Okay. Document what's happening. Okay. Assess the full extent of the damage. So what did happen now? And, can we fix it? Hopefully, can we fix it? Now, I'm assuming you guys have a diagram of your network of your school. Assuming you have some sort of diagram. It's probably quite crude, but ours, I don't even know if we have one. But I remember when I worked at Tinker, they would send someone in from Kelly Air Force Base once a year to document the network. And I remember I was in building 284. This still blew my mind. We're in there running a cable. And the guy came in to document the network. I mean, he goes to every port. This port's connected to this place. I said, dude, give us 10 minutes. We'll be done with this cable. Then you can do it. He goes, nope. I am doing it right now. I mean, and I says, wow. So you're saying in 10 minutes, your plan is out of date. But he also had a good point. I mean, he can't just wait 10 minutes. And then wait 10 more minutes. And then 10 more minutes for someone else. And then it was a snapshot in time. What is the network configuration right now? So it was hard to understand, but it was necessary. He did it that way. So, all right. Also, what did the breach come from? Well, how did it affect our CIA? Okay. Those who document damage must be trained to collect and preserve evidence. That's where forensics comes into play a lot of times. Gets the incident apart, and basically you might want to sue somebody. Okay. All right. Recovery process. Identify the vulnerabilities and fix them. Okay. This is address the safeguards. Make sure they're in place now so this won't happen again. Anyone remember the NIMDA virus? It was admin spelled backwards. NIMDA virus came out, oh man, mid-90s maybe? Mid to late 90s, something like that. Okay. I remember when I ran my ISP, Cox Communications, who was my provider, gave me a free router. So I says, great, I'm going to put my ACL on here. Oh, our routers don't support ACLs. I'm like, great, so much for a free router. So I went and got my own routers. So I did all that. But if you know anything, now I guess it's not quite the same, but to update an ACL, you really have to pull off the old ACL and put on the new ACL. Okay, I still remember it was probably around 2003, 2004. I was updating my ACL, and I took it off. And, basically, I copied it, edited it, then took it off and put the new one back on pretty quickly. And the moment it came off, all my servers' antivirus went off because the NIMDA virus hit them all. But the point is, what if I didn't have the antivirus and the firewall? A lot of people say, oh, I don't need that because I got this. Like Rose State, we have firewalls, external firewall. So they turn off the internal firewall. I don't think that's a good idea. Because what happens if an internal machine gets infected? Now it can just cruise around the school. But I still remember that day. All of them went, beep, 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 beep. What the heck is going on? It was the NIMDA virus. It was crazy. Okay. So address the safeguards. What happened? How can we fix them, upgrade them? Okay. Then monitoring capabilities. PCI compliance checklist I was working on with the guy after that credit card theft. They were saying you have to monitor the CPU utilization of your firewall every 15 seconds. I don't know about you, but who's going to sit there every 15 seconds monitoring your CPU utilization of your firewall? Obviously, you're going to have to use an automated tool for this. But it's tough. I mean, does anyone actually do that? I don't know. It's tough. All right. Okay, restore backups as needed. Okay. My bank, I like my bank, but I have issues every now and then. I went and got another bank account, a joint banking. I have a separate one. I went and got a joint bank account. Whatever they did when they gave me that joint bank account, they must have restored a backup or something, because all of a sudden my address was wrong, my phone number was wrong, my automatic bill pay system was all of a sudden paying on an account that I closed a year earlier. So I called them up. I'm like, what the heck? They're like, sir, because you were paying off the wrong account. I says, no, I wasn't. So if you look back, I paid it quarterly. So if you look back, the last 3 payments went through correctly. It's just that all of a sudden this old bank account came back in there. So I don't know what happened, but it was crazy. But backup recovery, restoring backups is a big issue. You don't want to do something like that to people. Okay. Restore services and processes. This is continuity monitor or continually monitor the system. Okay. All right. Let's see what else we got. Oh, at the bottom. It says, restore the confidence in the members of your community. Do you ever get that back? I had a bank account with Mid-First Bank. I don't know if you guys have Mid-First Bank here. Okay. We still got an Oklahoma City. I remember one day, I used to be really particular on my statements, go through every single charge. Now they're pretty much, there's no real issues with them, but everything came through 10 cents off. Everything clears for the wrong amount. So I went to the bank, and they're like, oh yeah, we know it's just a computer problem. You're fine, there's no money, it's just the statement's all printed wrong. I'm like, whoa, that's... Now that my bank restored some weird backup that they won't admit to, I don't know. What sucks is the IT guy at my bank is a prior student of mine. So I don't know. So Josh, what the hell did you do? All right.
Is he your C student?
Nah. Josh would wear a hoodie. He had a red hoodie. He would wear it every single day. He worked in my office for a while too. He worked in my office for 20 hours a week or something. Every single day he'd have the hoodie on. Finally one day I got it from him and hid it. So he went and bought a blue hoodie. He wore it every single day. I said, oh my God. I guess you don't believe in the washing machine, It just drove me crazy. All right. So before returning to routine duties, the team must conduct an after-action review. Again, most people skip this, but it's a good idea to see what happened. Okay. Document your findings. Review them with other people. Okay. What did work? What didn't work? Okay. Okay. When it violates the law, then contact the agencies, whether federal, state, or local. Okay. Involving law enforcement has advantages and disadvantages. Yes, I totally agree with that. It says they're usually much better equipped. Well, not always. Okay. However, involvement may result in loss of control. That's what that guy that had a credit card, he was basically saying it sucked. We had to turn over the server for a couple of weeks on end, and just, it was tough. Very, very, very tough.
How many credit cards did they lose?
About 400.
About how much?
400.
Oh, y'all were told.
Yeah, it wasn't that much. Yeah, but after that, he said, oh no, it's just, He said, we'll never, ever do that again. I'm like, well, you know. And we're talking like TJ Maxx and they have billions of them stolen or something. But 400, it's nothing. All right. So, disaster recovery plans is the preparation for and recovery from a disaster. What happened? We had a tornado or something. How to recover from it. Okay. So, unable to control or contain it. So, something's happening. Okay. Okay. Bunch of people involved in this one. Okay. All right. It says the most common method is to separate natural disasters from man-made ones. Tornadoes are different, obviously. Some are rapid onset, some are slower. Yeah, you got Joplin's in this state, isn't it? Yeah, Joplin, Missouri.
Yeah.
Okay. Had the big tornado that came through there, and you guys have as good a tornado notifications as we do. They literally can tell you where it is, on what street corner, and where it's going to be in 3 minutes, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Depends.
Ours is so detailed now; it's like crazy. And yeah, they literally can tell you it's here. I mean, as long as it follows its tracks, they can tell you exactly what moment it's going to be at what area. And it's like, because April 12th, I got hit by hail. That's why I'm getting a new roof. So, but I knew it was coming too. I was sitting outside watching it. So, all right, but some are rapid, some are slow. Okay. It says basically the impact analysis. We've got to figure out what's going to happen. How are we going to manage what's going to happen, and also test it. Okay, and this is the one that actually allows for more testing. Okay, delegation of roles and duties is important. Okay, clear establishment of priorities. What is the most important thing we need to save? So if you are going to have a tornado that you knew was coming, what would you save from your house? All that kind of stuff. Okay. Documentation is action steps and alternative implementations if something doesn't work. Okay. First bullet on the right says they must be flexible. You can't just stick with one thing. You must be flexible. The disaster recovery plan must have the ability to change. Okay. If the buildings are intact, then restore. Okay. It says ensure critical business functions can continue in a disaster. So if something happens, make sure they can continue to function. Okay. Contingency strategy. Here's the stuff I see on a lot of exams and everywhere. Okay. Hot, warm, and cold sites. That was on my CISSP exam even. It's like, what the heck? Okay. All right. It says exclusive use options, hot, warm, and cold. Or we could have shared options. Okay, I think we talked about each one of them. Or we could share with somebody. Okay. And then cost is obviously the big issue. Hot sites is fully configured computer facility with all services. How many people have that? Yeah, I mean, it's basically saying to have a hot site for this classroom, we need to have another classroom that's just sitting there waiting. Everything's configured exactly like this one is. We can just go use it if we need it. But we don't use it unless we need it. It's not like it's just another room we use as well. Tough. Okay, warm sites. Like a hot site, but software applications are not kept fully prepared. So we got the computers, but we haven't updated everything. So we might have to go in and configure it for a couple hours before we use it. Cold sites is only rudimentary services and facilities kept in readiness. We got a building, got electricity, but that's about all we got. So obviously, which one would be cheapest?
Cold side.
Cold site, obviously. All right. We could timeshare. This is exclusive use, but leased. We don't want it where we need it at all times. Now, if we were sharing with somebody, say we're sharing with OKCCC in Oklahoma City, would a hot site really be viable? Well, because we got different software. I mean, there's no way we could do that. But warm and cold probably could both work. We can't maybe have computers that don't have our particular software on them. Okay. Service Bureau says agency provides physical facilities. There are some out there that you rent. Basically, you don't even use them. You basically rent the ability to use them if you need them. Okay. And there come our mutual agreements, contract between two organizations, maybe two different schools. Okay. Okay, we have mobile sites, we have external storage sites. Actually, let me see if I can find this. Let me see if it's still there. I'm going to show you a map here. Show you my house again. Okay, I'm going to zoom out somewhere over here, and I'm going to say Tinker Air Force Base. It's not going to show it. The other day, I have a student who, and my house is right over here where the arrows are. I have a student who lives down here somewhere. And actually lives right over here. Oh, there it is. Can y'all see that right there? Can anyone see what that says? I don't think I can zoom in on that. Yeah, it says Tinker Air Force Base. Last time I checked, that's not Tinker Air Force Base. Tinker Air Force Base is right here. Right there. So I'm like, what the heck is that? Why is there a little shack called Tinker Air Force? I'm wondering. When I worked in software development, we had on-site backups. Where we made software changes. We made 2 tapes. One stored on-site, one stored off-site. I wonder if it's stored over there. Because it looks like storage buildings. So I wonder if they actually store their stuff there. I mean, it didn't seem much security over there. But I happened to bring that up one day, and I'm like, what the heck? Why is it saying Tinker Air Force Base wherever it went now? But that was kind of weird. Yeah, right there, Tinker Air Force Base. And my friend lives right over here. He goes, I didn't know the Air Force Base was there. Is that a store? I don't know what it is. But it says Tinker Air Force Base right there. Yeah. Tinker Air Force Base is at 9528 South Sandy Court. No idea. So who knows? That might be our off-site location. We might have one. Okay. Could be our externally stored resources. Okay. To get it up and running quickly, you must be able to recover your data. Electronic vaulting, remote journaling, and database shadowing. Basically, how you're going to get your data back. Our school does their own backups. You guys do your own backups here, I'm assuming? Probably. Yeah. With a lot of data, you need to. But a lot of my customers, when I used to run my business, started doing off-site backup. We use Core Vault. Excellent. Basically, install a piece of software. Then every night it would back up. Kind of like Carbonite that I have on my home PC. I install it. Whenever I make changes, it automatically backs it up. It was funny, my customers were kind of iffy about getting it. Do they really need that? Until one of them, the title search company that did everything electronically, deleted like an entire year's worth of title searches. Accidentally deleted them all. And I went right into the system, restored. Within 5 minutes, they were all back. They were like, oh my God, that's amazing. But I definitely recommend it. If you don't have any off-site electronic backup, you need to get one. Okay. All right. All right. Let's see. Timing and sequence. We're talking about different things that can happen. Alternative sites, primary site, but what happens if that one goes out as well? Okay. All right. More sequencing here. Okay. Crisis management. Focus on steps to deal primarily with the people involved. Okay. It says supporting personnel and their loved ones during the crisis. What do you do? Way back 2 years ago when a tornado came through my neighborhood, I called my insurance agent, said there's a tornado heading for my house. Actually, it didn't hit my house at all. Totally missed it. And she's like, let me know. I can write you up to a $25,000 check right now. So which was kind of good. It's what she was doing. She was doing crisis management. She had the ability to write me a check for whatever. Okay. So support people. Okay. Determine the event's impact on normal business operations and making a disaster declaration. Okay. All right, some of the actions. Keep the public informed. That's one of the, it's an important thing, but I think a lot of places fail on that. They don't really tell the public what's going on. A prime example of that, anyone got an iPhone in here? Only 2 of us, 3 of us have real phones. Good. The rest of you have that crappy Android thing. But a prime example is keeping public informed. I always like it when they're going to come out with a new version of the iPhone, like they will this year. You ever see the rumors? Oh, we're positive it's going to be this, and it's coming out on this day. It ain't even close. And when it finally gets released, like iPhone 5 was guaranteed going to be released last year on the Sprint network. Still ain't been released. So I like the fact that they don't always tell the public everything. Okay. But you should communicate with outside parties, keep the public informed. Okay. Verify personnel status and activating the alert roster. I had a guy, Randall Wharton, lived in some small little town out south of Oklahoma, joined the Air Force, worked with me as a software programmer for a while, and we were activating the alert roster one day. We said, Randall, what's your phone number? I don't have a phone. Like, okay. So where's your address? We got his address. Then one day, he didn't have a phone, but we had to do a recall, so we went to his house to tell him that there was a recall. And he was on the phone. Like, Randall, you're on the phone. And I said, no, I don't have a phone. Like, you're just on the phone. No, I don't have a phone. It was weird. And then his car got impounded one day. And the only reason we knew it got impounded was those papers on the seat that had his name on it. And it was put in the impound lot. So the cops called and said, hey, Randall Warden's car got impounded. We said, Randall, your car's impounded. No, my car's down in Norman's getting fixed. I'm like, no, your car got impounded. No, my car's down in Norman getting fixed. Trust me, dude, that's your car. No, it's in Norman getting fixed. It was weird. Then all of a sudden one day he went to the hospital to talk to a mental health professional and never saw him again. So I think he was a couple people all rolled up into one. It was weird. It's like, dude, you were just on the phone. You're just like, oh, I don't have a phone. Okay, I don't get it. Weird. All right. So the recovery plan and continuity plan are very closely related. A lot of times the same people will work on both, but you can a lot of times combine them into one. Okay, we're just about done with this stuff. Okay. All right. Components of it: the name, the date, the staff, the emergency services to be called, all that stuff should be in part of it, or inside of it. The locations you're going to be using, the source of the offsite equipment, all that stuff should be in there. Okay. Well, the service level agreement, I don't know if it mentions that, but that should be there as well. Who's going to provide services to you? Okay. You should also go over the stuff, check it. You should also simulate it. Obviously, you're not going to fully do a implementation of something. Normally, you could, but simulate it. Parallel testing, that's where you do two things at one time. Not done very often, but I guess if we had a really critical system, you wanted to make sure the backup worked, we could actually function over there one day. Okay? All right. Final thoughts. It says iteration results in improvement. In other words, do it, you get better every time. Okay? Each time it's rehearsed, it should be improved. Okay? And then documented. Okay. End up with an improved outcome. All right, that's the end of this chapter. We'll stop this recording.